This is the most important and crucial period of your lives, for what you do now and what you decide now at this age may well determine which way your life shall go. And the question is whether you have a proper, a solid, and a sound blueprint. And I want to suggest some of the things that should be in your life's blueprint. Number one in your life's blueprint should be a deep belief in your own dignity, your own worth, and your own somebodyness. Don't allow anybody to make you feel that you are nobody. Always feel that you count. Always feel that you have worth. And always feel that your life has ultimate.
Thank you for tapping in. This is Brian HRap B. Williams with the End of the Bench Media. This is a few minutes with HRap episode 35. Thank you for tapping in. Hit that like, hit that share, tell a friend, and leave a comment. I would love to have a conversation with you, and I'll address a couple new subscribers at the end. Thank you. Today is the game, the game of life that we're playing, the thing that we're dealing with on a regular basis. How we deal with life here in the United States of America as Black people, how we deal with being Black and how we move forward with being Black. It's an interesting topic, and some people gonna disagree, and I understand that already. But if you agree, again, as I say every day, if you agree with everything I said, it would be pointless for me to do this, because that means the community is perfect and we don't need anything. So the discourse is necessary, the back and forth, and it is what it is. Now, with that being said, about this game, the game of life, how the game goes and things of that nature. Well, you ever wonder why we play the game the way we play it? Why we play this game of life the way we play it? Some of the tropes that you hear a lot: we don't stick together, we sell each other out, we don't support each other, and things of that nature. Why is it that we always fighting? There's a bigger issue there. There's a bigger issue. And some of these things that I'm gonna say may be foreign to some. And if you haven't been introduced to this concept, I would encourage you to look into these issues, because we need to understand who we are, what we do, so we can be better. The game is like that. Like when you are a football team, you might be a throwing football team, you may be a running football team, and you may have a deficit at this and a strength at that. And that's how life is. All your strengths come from your gene pool. All your weaknesses come from your gene pool. You are a sum total of everything that has ever been in your life. And when I mean your life, I mean your current life, your life experiences, your parents' life, your grandparents' life, and so forth and so on. Everything that's inside of them is inside of you, whether it's good, bad, or indifferent. And that's not the first time I've said that on this program. What I want us to understand is this: those things trigger behaviors and actions, no matter who you are, where you are. Well, we live in the United States of America. People love to tell us to disregard our trauma, disregard our pain, disregard the things that has happened to us. Well, that was a long time ago. Well, that is part of your genetic makeup, whether you want to admit it or not. Genetics are inside. There's a concept called epigenetic. Epi meaning upper. Genetic meaning inside. So if it's inside on top of your genetic pool, that means it's a part of who you are. You will accept that high blood pressure is a part of you, even though you can do away with high blood pressure, but you're like, hey, well, I got it from my mom, I got it from my daddy, but you didn't get anything else from your mother and your father. Diabetes, well, I got it from my parents. Sickle cell anemia, I got it from it, but you don't believe behaviors are passed down. Well, behaviors are passed down, fears are passed down, and things of that nature. That's why I said it's called epi, meaning up. Genetic is a part of you. If you believe your genetic pool is a part of you, then that means anything on top of your genetic pool is on top of you. It's a part of you as well. How do I mean these things? For example, when you have, this is a science, this is not an opinion. And you can look it up, epigenetics. Look it up, please do. And let me see, it's a book that I would suggest people read, and it is by a sister by the name of Babette Rothschild. It is The Body Remembers. The Body Remembers. I should have put it on the screen. I apologize. I'll mention it and put it up later. The Body Remembers. And the reason I'm talking about those things is because you are a sum total. Let's just take it back to pre-colonialism, or even pre-indentured servitude called enslavement. Forced indentured servitude called enslavement. You are the people from Guyana, well, Ghana, not because Guyana is in South America, Ghana, Sierra Leone, Egypt, and so every other place that you were stolen from on the great continent. The great continent. I said that intentionally. So astrology, science, agriculture, music, dance, and every other thing that was brought over here and adapted into Americanized way of living, like the banjo, like that country western stuff that y'all think, oh, that ain't black stuff, like the guitar and other musical instruments that we created and things that were taken from us, and you don't know about it. So you don't know it's part of your genetic breakdown. Now, when you bring these people over here, what I want you to understand is this, and I'm not trying to be super AKA guy, but I want you to understand why some behaviors happen. And how, that was 100 years ago, but you have to understand that's not 100 years ago. That's right in your gene pool. For example, my great grandmother, Hattie Mae Turner. She had a daughter, which is my grandmother, Mattie Mae Turner. So she had a mother who was enslaved. Now, all that trauma from enslavement is in Hattie Mae Turner, because guess what? A woman, when she's born, she has all the eggs in her body that she's gonna have for the rest of her life. So when my great grandmother Hattie Mae was born, the egg for Mattie Mae was inside of her. So all the trauma before and during her life was pressed into my grandmother, and then the trauma of my grandmother was pressed into her. And then she met my grandfather, who also had trauma pressed into him from his parents. So now they create my dad, who has his own traumas, and from Hattie Mae, Mattie Mae, George. And guess what? He meets my mother, who had traumas from Richard, Dolores, Esther, and Theodore. And all of those traumas and were pressed into your man HRap. If you don't believe me, I've never met my dad. My dad died 4 months before I was born. And anybody who knows my father says I sound just like him. I talk about the exact same things. So if the good things are there, so are the bad things. If the good things can be triggered by watching things like police brutality, drug-infested communities, certain situations, and it invoked pride and things that my father and my mother, both members of the Black Panther Party of Self-Defense, put in me without even telling me, that means those bad things are there as well. Things like, if you can snitch on somebody, you can get your freedom. Who doesn't want their freedom? So I may do something nefarious against a brother or a sister so I can get away from this tyranny. And those things are pressed into you as well. We get angry with people. So if we start addressing these things, this is why you need to have conversation with your children. And when you have conversation with your children, you'll be able to say, hey, you know what? We have a long line of alcoholism in our family. We have a long line of drug abuse in our family. We may have a long line of women abuse in our family. We may have a long line of women abusing men in our family. So that way you stop it. You stop it right there. But what we do in our community is suppress those things. Oh, we're not going to talk about that. That's ugly. We're not going to talk about this. We're going to act like it doesn't happen. And then it's just passed on to HRap and to HRap's 2 children and their 2 children. Like my daughter, she already got the eggs in her body that may matriculate to my grandchildren. And my son has the semen in his body that's going to matriculate into other grandchildren. This is why these things go on and on and on, which brings me to something that art imitates life. Here's the way we could potentially get rid of these things. We could potentially get rid of these things by, one, having a conversation. And it brings me to this movie, looking at the title, because I always forget it. It's called The Order. HRap. What are you talking about with a movie? And how's a movie going to be affect because the order is an instance in which this man, he's part of this Catholic order, and he gets duped. This came out in 2003. It's a great movie. He gets duped into taking on the sins of the people around him, and he lives forever. And what he does is he goes to other Catholic priests and other religious people and take on their sins so they can get in heaven. Sound familiar? Sound familiar? It does, doesn't it? If you go to church, it definitely sound familiar. And I'm not saying that he was a God or Jesus or any savior or any Messiah. But what we can do in the Black community is this: have these conversations, introduce our young people to things that when you stop, you take on those generational curses. So if you have drug addiction, child molestation, abuse, and other things in your DNA, you can stop that. You can take that sin right there. I'm gonna grab hold of this. I'm gonna talk to my children. I'm gonna talk to my nieces. I'm gonna talk to my nephews. I'm gonna talk to anybody in my family that's younger than me, so we can stop these are things that could be triggered, just like he did. So this is when life imitates art. We don't have to subject ourselves to the tyranny of our oppressor on a regular basis. Oh, HRap, how could that benefit you? It can definitely benefit you, because when you know what you're up against, just like at the top of the show, I gave you the sports analogy. If you are a running football team, there's a good chance your defense is impeccable against the run because you're running all the time. But guess what? Your pass defense may not be good. So now we have to work on that. We have to work on other things. We may have to work on our pass offense. And that's what we need to do. We need to work on things. This is why things are being attempted to be taken away from us, because if you learn these things, you absorb that sin. The elders in every community should absorb that sin, and then we can leave our children a better legacy. Now, speaking of legacy, I'm going to show you this video. Y'all already know I'm going to do some love, show Country Boy some love. Now, if you don't understand it, go to One Mic History, and watch this. But I will prefer that you give me and Country Boy some love. Show me and Country Boy some love, and go to www.thaendofdabench.com. You can watch it there. Give me some love. You can watch it. You get the love for Country Boy. You get the love for me. And then you can help each and every one of us. We can grab hold to those sins. And then I'm going to talk about sin when I come back. When I come back from this brief video, I'm going to talk to you about sin and how we can remove these sins from our epigenetic gene code. This is your man, HRap. I'll be back shortly. That's why when we do things live, things don't work all the way.
The Black Panthers, also known as the Black Panther Party, was a political organization founded in 1966 by Huey Newton and Bobby Seale to challenge police brutality in the African American community. The Black Panthers eventually developed into a Marxist revolutionary group that called for the arming of all African Americans, the exemption of African Americans from the draft, the release of all African Americans from jail, and payment of compensation to African Americans for centuries of exploitation by white America. At their peak in the late 1960s, Black Panthers membership exceeded 2,000 members, and the organization had chapters in several major American cities. Welcome, this is One Mic. I am your host, Country Boy, and as you might have guessed, our episode today is about the legendary Black Panther Party. As always, if you like this, please consider donating to our Patreon page. You'll find that down below in the description. I would also like to give a shout out to our newest Patreon member, Teresa Ludi. I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing that. And if you like more episodes like this, you can find us at onemichistory.com. And please give us 5 stars on Apple Podcasts. But without further ado,
now, as you see, you already know. I need you to go to www.thaendofdabench.com, watch that video, or go directly to Country Boy. Either way, you're going to do yourself and us a favor. It is a solid that you're doing us. Country Boy got hours and hours of content, and I got the same. Please subscribe, please leave a comment, I need this conversation because I'll tell you at the end of the program. Now, you see, when you get people saying, hey man, why do we always talk about slavery? Because we're greater than slavery. Slavery is a minute and it is 25 seconds in the history of the Black community. That's how fast our community is. 25 seconds. If you had a clock, it'd be 25 seconds. When you look at everything we've accomplished and everything we've done in this world, slavery is literally about 25 seconds on a 24-hour clock. So you see how small it is. We're not that. But those things, as I spoke about earlier, epigenetically, those things are woven into us. That inability to fight back was woven into us. That oppressive mind state was woven into us. The fact that we had to fight, scratch, and claw on every level, it's been woven into our DNA structure. And as long as we say, oh, that was a long time ago, we'll never address that problem. If you're an alcoholic, you need to say, like, what do they say at the beginning of the meeting? Hi, my name is HRap. I'm an alcoholic. I'm a drug addict. I'm an abuser. Whatever instance, you must admit the trauma, address the trauma, look the trauma in its eye, and then you defeat the trauma. This is why the people who are in control of the government right now want to do away with African-American studies. Because if you figure out that Granville T. Woods actually invented the first electric roller coaster, what do you mean 100 years ago a brother invented a roller coaster? What do you mean that same man perfected the electric light? What do you mean Black people invented the automatic transmission? What do you mean Black people invented the ironing board, the clothes dryer, the fire escape, the gas mask, and multiple dozens of other things that you use every single solitary day? Now you realize there's greatness in you. Well, what's holding me back from this greatness? The fact that in Wilmington, North Carolina, you had people say, hey, when we came out of them, when we had emancipation and during the Reconstruction period from 1865 to 1877, we took places in office. We were elected officials. We immediately learned how to read. We started educating each other, and we started moving towards that greatness that we had, because guess what? We knew what was in the past, because the past was just right there that we can touch. So we knew we never wanted to go back there. Oh man, this is traumatic, HRap. I don't really watch the news because it's traumatic. Yeah, how about living that news? Our grandparents, understand your grandparents lived that stuff that you see on the news that is how many times you had a dog sick on you? How many times you had your house burned down because you lived in the wrong neighborhood? How many times you had to get off the curb? How many times have you, in the midst of laughing, had to stick your head in a barrel, because that's where you get that term, a barrel of laughs, because Black people aren't allowed to live outside? How many times have you had to live with the fact that one of your children, that's why Black women, check out Dr. George DeGruy, Black women say, oh, no, he's not doing that well, because you're protecting your son from your enemy. You won't let your child flourish because you don't want the other side to destroy him. That's inside of you epigenetically. If you don't want to believe it, I understand. It sounds crazy. And this is why, like in the order, you must, and guess what? He's called the sin eater. He's eating the sin. What is the sin? Let's talk about sin. Sin, I literally looked it up. I wrote down one of the definitions. An offense against God, a person, or principle. So guess what? When you offend me, that's a sin. If you cheat me out of anything, that's a sin, because I'm offended that you've taken my history from me. You're sinning against me. See, we always think of sin as something we do against God. But guess what? Let's put it like this. If it's against God, and God is everywhere, God is in me, and you do it against me, you're sinning against me too. So let's look at these things. Let's remove these sins, because when we don't let our children, see, we, like you tell your child when you put them out to school, you go straight home, you go to that school, and you get, like my great-grandmother, Whitmore, Brian, go to school and get your lesson. Dolores Pollard, my grandmother. Brian, go to school, get your lesson. My grandmother, Maddie Mae Williams, we call her my dear. Brian, go to school to get your lesson. They told us that now you go straight to your grandmama's house, either one of them, either one of the three, or you go to your Aunt Rita's house, and you wait on your mom. And then when you're there, you go and you do your lesson. So they prepared me to educate myself. They prepared me to learn. My sister Phyllis, my sister Theodora, they taught me how to read. They taught me mathematics. So I was prepared. Now we need to be prepared spiritually and epigenetically. Don't be trying to let, it's just bad. No, because we have a history of alcoholism or alcohol abuse in our family. You don't want to go down that path because it can be triggered by one drink or 10. You don't want to be in the midst of that. Drugs can grab hold to you the first time or the 51st time. This is why you don't want to use drugs. You don't want to have intercourse too early because you're not emotionally equipped to deal with the things that come along with sexual intercourse at age 13, 14, 15, 16. And you're definitely not emotionally, mentally, and spiritually prepared to be somebody's parent. Instead of saying, don't do what I say, just do what I say. No, you remove that sin, that offense. You remove that possible pothole out our children's way. We lay on the ground, like in the cartoons or in the TV shows, you show a man laying his coat on the ground so the woman won't get her feet wet. We don't want our children's getting, street terminology, wet, meaning unalived, because these are the reasons our children are not behaving the way we assume they should. They shouldn't be robots. But if you know drug addiction is in your future, or potentially in your future, alcoholism is in your future, being abusive is in your genetic makeup. Yeah, your grandfather used to really hit your grandmother. We don't do that around here. Now, when you feel that emotion of anger building up and you're ready to strike, you have the mental capacity as a young person, as an older person, and as an elder to say, hey, slow down. We're not doing that. It's not what we're doing, because we've addressed these things. And when you know history, and now we've addressed all that negativity, now to start addressing it positively. If you know Theodore Whitmore is the first Black man in Chicago, Illinois, to have a city contract to fix the milk trucks in Chicago, Illinois, who was able to live a very, very nice life. So I have entrepreneurs in my system. That's why I can't get along with people at jobs. That's why when the boss tell me what to do, or the supervisor or the manager, because you don't have no boss. I apologize for saying that. That's why it's like nails on the chalkboard. That's why it's like that. Or, like me, I'm claustrophobic as all get out. And maybe that's because I can access the memory of being enclosed in someplace. Or when you used to do something as an enslaved person, maybe my people used to try to escape all the time. They put us in those boxes to punish you. You're in a box that's like a coffin for 10, 12 hours to stop you. So now that's why I hate being in enclosed areas. We have to explore those things. But more than anything, you find out the greatness. That's why I show the videos every day. That's why I want you to go to One Mic History for Country Boy. That's why I want you to go to www.thaendofdabench.com and check out all my videos and show them to your children. Shout out to my buddy Rated Kev, because he does that. Guess what? Rated Kev, I know you don't mind. Rated Kev, his grandson was cutting up in school. He didn't take his toys away from him. He didn't say you couldn't do anything. He forced them to start watching One Mic History on www.thaendofdabench.com. And now the young man is enjoying Country Boy's work because he sees how great wait a minute. I can invent chicken. I can invent, I could be like Percy Julian. I could be like George Washington Carver. I could be like Pauli Murray. I could be like Thurgood Marshall. I could be like Whitney Young. I could be like Ralph Bunche. Yes, you can. But if we allow people to teach our children mathematics, United States history, science, in accordance to how they do it, guess what? We'll never get it. My main man, Mo, my business partner here at the end of the bench, part of Bench Media, he was telling me about how an elder in his family directed him to a right doctor. His blood pressure goes down. He feels better. His health has improved. Guess what? We need to get back to that. Because when we have doctors who think like us, we have scientists who think about our internal situation. We have therapists who understand our trauma. When we have engineers in our family for inspiration. When we have, I got a friend whose father is a tax preparer. You don't need to go to college to do that. You need to get certified. You need to take a class, but you don't need to go and get a $75,000, $80,000, $100,000 debt. See, when we have conversations, we fill in the pieces to this Black American puzzle. And then once that Black American puzzle, then we reach out to the Caribbean, and then we reach out to the great continent, and then we unite. And Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad used to have this poster where they had black hands from Africa and black hands from America connected. And next thing you know, you can go to and fro from the continent to the Caribbean to the United States, and we're not really worried about anything because we've embraced our flaws. We've enhanced our greatness because we embrace them flaws. We will embrace those flaws to eradicate them. And then we take that fist and we punch through that glass ceiling, or don't even acknowledge the glass ceiling because we have our own thing, and we're going back and forth and enhancing our lives and not disturbing anybody else. Because if you don't want us here, if you don't want to deal with us, we're cool. We're cool. You are DEI because we don't want you to be woke. Yeah, well, that's your problem. Yeah, you're right. Well, we're going to deal with our people, and then we're going to walk away. And then we're not going to do interviews with ESPN because we don't have to. We're going to go to the end of the bench media with Wigmore HRap. And we're going to get the money from the leagues and bring it back to our community. And then we're going to enhance our community. That's why we're not going to ask our children anymore, what you going to be when you grow up? What we're going to ask our children is, what are you going to do to make the world, Black America, better, or the Black world better? And now our children have a different mindset, and now they know what's in front of them, the potholes in front of them, and the pitfalls in front of them. So they weave around those things. And then you have the next Fannie Lou Hamer. You have the next Dr. Betty Shabazz. You have the next Paulie Murray. You have the next Ralph. You have the next Ralph Bunche. You have the next A. Philip Randolph. You have the next Barack Hussein Obama. You have the next, I can't think of the brother who's the mayor in Baltimore, who's reduced crime 20% because he engaged in his community. He let people know that you're not a thug, you're not a criminal, you're not a drug dealer, you're not somebody who's participating in nefarious activities. You are a genius, you are a great father, you are a great mother, you are a great communal member, you are a great person. And with that being said, y'all forgot to my new subscribers. I got me some racists on the team. Y'all had some racists tap in today and say that I was race baiting because I'm talking about the enhancement of my community. I need you to come back because I'm gonna keep being this funky every single day, Monday through Friday. I got my man Luther coming on soon, and he gonna bring a bunch of people, and we're gonna enhance our community, and we're gonna make this thing get on your damn nerves. Because if you think me telling my folks, watch out for the BS, don't trust everybody. Everybody don't have your best intentions in heart. That means you don't know anything about my past, and you don't really need to. For the people who gonna tap in and call me a race baiter, what I want you to do is look up Africatown, Alabama. I want you to look up Peoria, Illinois. I want you to look up pre-405 freeway in Los Angeles, California. When you look throughout the United States of America, all the highways and byways just happen to go through Black communities and destroy the economic advancements that they've made. Bronzeville, Chicago, Illinois, Peoria, Illinois, like I said, South Charleston, South Carolina, which used to have the largest concentrated population of Black people in these United States up into the late 40s when they start handing out land grants to white people, and then they start coming over there. Yeah. So you talk about little Havana down there in Miami, Florida, where a lot of Bohemian brothers and sisters got busted up, and talk about redlining, talk about Black laws. So if you think because you typed in a message, I'ma stop, you inspire me. Shout out to the racists that tapped in, and to the brother who just followed me on TikTok, who told me he don't care about nationalism, he cares about law. A dumbass. And excuse me to the pastors that watch and the other people of God, but I had to say that, hey, dumbass. It used to be a law that slavery was legal. So don't talk to me about no damn laws, you fool. I'm HRap. Hey, y'all tap in. I need y'all to like, leave a comment, share with a friend, tell a friend to tell a friend to tap in. I'm HRap B. Thank you for tapping in. This is the end of the bench media. And for the 5 people that subscribed today, greatly appreciate it. Even if it's one of them racist dudes that tap in. I see you in a couple of days. I see you in a couple of hours because, I'm up all night. I see you go tap in. I'm just say what I got to say. 2 fingers, 1 word, and y'all already know.
And it is necessary for those people who rule over us and who rule over African people the world over, if those people are to stay in power, they must destroy our ability to love each other in a healthy sort of way. This is why